Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, we are going to take a critical look at President Paul Biya's call on young Cameroonians who travel abroad to come back home and invest in their country. How feasible is that? How conducive is the investment climate? Is the legal framework conducive? What are the stumbling blocks hindering many young people from investing in their country, and even those who are back at home from investing, doing business, creating jobs? We're going to try to answer these questions in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe Television. And in the Southwest region, Governor Benau Kalebilai tells young people, if you think about development, you must continue to take development actions so that development should not end with your parents. This is what the governor told young people who marched to his office yesterday during the celebration of the 2020 National Youth Day, marked by the coronavirus pandemic that hindered the usual National Youth Day parade on ceremonial grounds across the Republic and out of the country, after the United Nations received a series of reports of high numbers of sexual violence and abuse in the Tigray region of Ethiopia. The government of that country has confirmed that rape eventually took place in the context of the crisis in that part of the country. Details coming up next. The governor of the Southwest region, Benau Kalebilai, tells young people that they must continue taking development actions in order to ensure that development does not end with their parents. He was talking to the young people who marched to his office yesterday within the framework of the 2020 edition of the 2021 edition of the National Youth Day celebration. And he also told the young people to encourage those who are carrying guns out of the bushes to drop the guns and come out so that peace can return to the crisis-stricken northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. Derek Jato reports from Boya.
The COVID-19 pandemic might have stopped them from officially celebrating their day, but not their message of the day. These members of the Southwest Youth League are on the street of Boya this 10th day of February 2021 to announce their presence by carrying out the peaceful march that took them from the Independence Square to the Southwest Governor's office, where they delivered their message.
Since 2016, when the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest region started, the youths of the Southwest region have been dormant. We have virtually abandoned everything to you and your administration, and we think that it's time we came up with something tangible to support the administration in its fight.
Iswa Kisitu, the Pioneer Regional President, promised Southwest Governor Benau Kalebilai of their determination as youth of the region to accompany the government.
Henceforth, you can count on us. Get us involved in your activities so that we accompany you in your drive to bring peace in the region.
Responding, Southwest Governor thanked them for their show of patriotism and begged these youth to convince their kind still in the bushes to come out and join them in the society.
Dear youth, I would like first of all welcome you in this governor's office. When we talk development, we look at the youth. So if you don't continue the action of developing yourself, developing your area, the village, development will stop with your fathers and you will lose everything. Those were in the bushes. Tell them that the should come out to join the train of development.
And also present was Chief Professor Agbo Bechem, who qualified this youth engagement as an indication of a better Southwest region.
I am very, very satisfied that there is a group of youth that have stretched their hands, that we can hand over to them and they can ably handle the affairs of this region with confidence.
The Southwest Youth League was created in 2020 with the objective to contribute in the development of the Southwest region, whose identity has been punctured by the Anglophone crisis.
The Rejata reporting there from the southwest region of the country, and in the opacity of Limbe, the pioneer Limbe city councillors or young councillors converged to discuss issues about young people and of course solutions to the plight and how they are supposed to contribute to nation building. Davidson Memo report.
They are the pioneer junior councillors of Limbe 2 municipality in session with the mayor, Chief Ndive Daniel Walker I. It is the very first time these youth are witnessing how council sessions operate. The mayor elaborately explains the objective, mission and goals of municipal councillors.
As junior councillors of Limbe 2 municipality, we have to work hand in glove with their community and the council so as to give the community you represent a clearer picture of council activities and equally assist the council in disseminating its information and activities.
Representing the supervisory authority of councils, the divisional officer says the putting in place of junior councillors is part of the head of state vision of involving the youth in the development of the nation and to better prepare them as tomorrow leaders.
This spirit of leadership that we are building up from on those youth people will help them to give us a better Cameroon.
In excitement, the junior councillor team leader says they are ready to play their role in the development of their municipality.
I'm definitely taking something back to my community, so this will help us and it will mold us to be better leaders tomorrow.
Meanwhile, celebrations marking the 55th National Youth Day in Limbe 2 was special. Schools head, students and people's representative answered present at the Limbe 2 Council deliberating chambers. According to the divisional officer, the few selected shall pass on the message to their peers. He told the few youth that counseling the public manifestation is the love the President of the Republic have for the future generation and must be protected in time of crisis.
The institution of our country give room to everybody to come to the table and to discuss. Nobody, no youth should feel as being abandoned, should feel as being left out.
The event ended with the award of prizes to winners of various Youth Day activities.
In Lum, in the Mongo Division Littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon, the ceremonial ground, as it was the case elsewhere across the country, was simply deserted. Nobody was found around that area except for some few workers who were seen there, and some of the young people rather converged in their respective academic institutions to carry on with some activities within the framework of the celebration of the National Youth Day in Cameroon. And it was an interesting show in some of the schools where some of the young people gathered and actually carried on with the parade in their schools in order to mark the 2021 edition of the National Youth Day. Now to Chang, in the west region of the country, there is a student of that institution who is under police custody after he is accused of setting ablaze a section of the administrative unit of that institution where examination scripts were kept. He was caught by the school guard. Immaculate Fogwe reports.
Economic sense, a section of the administrative unit where examination scripts of students of the University of Chang are stored, engulfed by wild flames. Part of the building hosting students of the Faculty of Economic Science equally being consumed by the flames. The fire incident is taking place at a time when semester exams are being written. This is the 4th fire incident recorded on this campus, but this time around, the presumed perpetrator has been arrested. According to reports, the alleged perpetrator is a Master 1 student from the Faculty of Economic and Management Science. He was caught by the school security guard after he had already set ablaze the first section and was moving towards the ICT center. The guard raised an alarm and he was immediately apprehended. Access into the affected buildings has been denied. School authorities have equally denied uttering a word concerning the fire incident. A security meeting was immediately convened. Consequently, students who wrote the exams are compelled to start all over.
Thanks, Immaculate Fogwe. Now to Banka, still in the west region of the country. In that village, in the west region, the conflict between local or traditional and municipal and administrative authorities recently came on again, and violent manifestation of anger in that part of the country, and notables of the village stormed the village square, Carrefour Panchi, and put an end to rehabilitation works launched there by this council, and they are protesting against the destruction of the monument of a former traditional leader of that village, led by His Majesty Tukam Mukam. They destroyed everything established there by workers assigned by the council. This brings back to memory the conflict between the mayor of Fumban and Sultan Bumbun Joya, and to the mayor of Banka. The monument is not important. What is important is the development and beautification of the village. Coming up, Innocent has a far-seeing details on a recent declaration by the national chairman of the Social Democratic Front, John Frindi, on press freedom, which is said to be stifled in the Republic of Cameroon.
Journalism is about the search for the truth, and it is that truth that will make us fare better as a country.
It is undoubtedly factual that media men and women practice their profession in a cruel and almost unfriendly society in which they are killed, attacked by state authorities, arrested, tortured and detained for reporting the truth. While many minimize and condemn the great roles journalists in Cameroon play in promoting democracy and developing the nation, the SDF party of John Frindi embraces the press, expressing its solidarity.
This message is more about our concern for the challenges facing you today and our expression of willingness for us to work together for a freer and more just and democratic society. I am very much aware of the problems plaguing your domain, the persecution of journalists in the exercise of their professional duty. The criminalization of press offenses doesn't give the press the needed free hand to act like the fourth estate of power. Impoverishment of the press, lack of access to official state information, anarchy in the way the press is organized in Cameroon, the proliferation of the social media, and the rapidity with which it publishes information.
The party believes as fake news and the social media infects credibility of the press and information they broadcast or disseminate.
The volume of fake news that circulates these days is alarming. Fake news has always existed, but the social media has fueled it to unprecedented levels. Conspiracy theories against individuals, institutions, political parties, and even countries that need to be destroyed abound on social media, resulting in dramatic consequences. The terrible thing is that armchair journalists for lack of news or out of sheer malice, relay these conspiracy theories in their media houses.
According to the SDF, the press must stand up against the fake news and conspiracy theories if they have to survive as well as remain credible.
It is in this light that in presenting each problem above, I suggested a possible way out. I don't believe in complaining without proposing a way forward out of the problem. I believe in solution-driven actions. Many of the solutions I suggested for the problems above need advocacy.
Najon Funzi and his comrades reveal there is a solution, but the media men and women need to trust and work hand in glove with the party in order to overcome the problems.
Ethiopia have confirmed incidents of rape took place in the conflict-hit Tigray region in the wake of a military offensive organized or orchestrated by the Prime Minister of the country against the local ruling party. It comes after the United Nations said it had received reports of a high number of sexual violence and abuse in the region, including individuals forced to rape members of their own families. The Minister of Women, Filzan Abdullahi, said a task force on the ground confirmed the rape took place, but is yet to establish the number of victims. She added that government is strengthening the protection and prevention of gender-based violence against women in the Tigray region. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed launched a ground and air offensive in November last year to oust the region's ruling party after troops captured the federal military base. He declared victory in Tigray after months of conflict, but fugitive Tigray People's Liberation Front TPLF leaders vowed to continue fighting. Talking Point is up next. Today we are receiving a young politician, member of the Popular Action Party, Prince Epie Ejede is the president of that party in the Yaoundé 6th constituency. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Mr. Babila Jonathan. Good evening to the millions of televiewers of Equinoxe Television. It's a pleasure to be here, and a special good evening to the president of the Popular Action Party, Mr. Anchang Dennis. I'm happy to be here.
Right, and also joining us from the United States of America, Dr. Chubufo Muchi Dita is a medical doctor, a Cameroonian, joining us from the United States of America. Thanks for joining us today, Doctor.
Thank you, Mr. Babila, and good evening to you and the entire Equinoxe audience. I extend special salutations to the people of my community, and that is in Tamafe, the community which raised me. I'm pleased being on this program, and I look forward to us talking on the very, very important talking points you've highlighted.
I start with you, the President of the Republic, speaking to young people on the 10th of February 2021 ahead of the National Youth Day celebration, said that young Cameroonians who travel abroad should come back home and invest in their country. How did you receive this message from the President of the Republic?
Thank you very much for bringing this up, and I think I've been listening to the president for so many years, and he always addresses the nation on the eve of the, in quotes, Youth Day. This time around, he talked about people coming back to invest in Cameroon. And there is no doubt about it. Let's be clear, we have lots of talent, lots of potential in the diaspora who are very willing to come back to Cameroon. And the question remains, why are they not coming back? I think the president himself and probably his administration have realized that there is so much to be done in this area, and the reason why he made that comment. But let's be clear about it. if you make a comment or if you bring up a point, then we need to make the conditions that are going to enable the implementation of that point. So it's a laudable initiative, but as it's been with many things the president has said in the past, I look forward to what policies would be laid out to enable us to come back. Right now, there are so many problems in Cameroon which prevent young people like us with potentials and resources from returning home to develop the homeland we very much love. And we would be examining those during this program as well as proposing solutions.
You people abroad from coming back to invest in your country?
Well, Mr. Babila, let's get this. You know, when you talk of an investor, it's somebody who takes resources, puts somewhere, and he expects to at least gain some satisfaction. It could come in terms of financial returns or in terms of the development and job opportunities for his fellow brothers and sisters. However, when we look at Cameroon at this point, it is hard to say we have the conditions which are conducive enough to enable people to freely come back home. Let's look at the socio-political situation of Cameroon. Would you, in your right frame of mind, think somebody would come home and invest in the Northwest, in the Southwest, in the East region, or in the Northern region of Cameroon? These are very unstable areas. Every day we see pictures of businesses burnt down. We see pictures of homes burned down. This is almost a deserted area. Who are those people? Which investor in his right frame of mind would bring vast resources to put in such a community? If we want people to come back, then we must make conditions comfortable enough and inviting enough for them to come back. And let's not forget, when people leave Cameroon, they are exposed to the entire world. We don't just see Cameroon, but we see the world. And we compare Cameroon alongside other nations. So why should I rush back to Cameroon? I should come to Cameroon because of the conditions. And that is what is lacking. And we hope the president and his entire administration will take the time to sit and solve the problems plaguing the country. The Northwest and the Southwest, talk less of the East and the Northern region, nobody would want to come and invest in such an unstable area. That's just one of the problems. But let's talk about infrastructure as well. If you had a business with a headquarters...
Talking about infrastructure in a short while, time for us to get into some details concerning these security challenges that you were highlighting. It should be noted that these challenges do not affect only those regions concerned, the Northwest, the Southwest, the Far North, the East, but the impact cuts across the country. The impact is felt in all other parts of the country. And Prince Epie Ejede, when you look at this issue highlighted by the Dr. Dita, how do you perceive this issue of security and investment? President Paul Biya is saying, you guys come and invest, and even those who are at home invest, create jobs. But insecurity seems to be a major stumbling block. Yes,
Thank you very much for that question. That question is very, very fundamental in the present context of Cameroon because we have very serious security issues. Now, you cannot tell people to come and invest when the security of the state is at stake. Like a doctor was saying, if you look at the Northwest and the Southwest, you realize that the war there cannot make foreign investors or the Cameroonians in the diaspora to come and invest. That notwithstanding, besides even the security issues, what are the measures that you have put in place for these people to come and invest in Cameroon? I believe that
about the security issues, what should be done about it?
About the security issues, it's been 4 or 5 years now that, especially in the Anglophone zones of Cameroon, that all Cameroonians have been calling the state, especially the head of state, to solve the Anglophone crisis. You realize that the major national dialogue was a failure because the major national dialogue was called to solve the Anglophone crisis, and the major national dialogue did not adhere to what the Anglophones were clamoring for. So now, you realize that the
recommendations are being implemented and the regions are already in place. The executives already getting to work.
Mr. Babila Jonathan, you know very well, you are a journalist, you are a renowned journalist, you know very well that the decentralization process was being precipitated to use it to solve the Anglophone crisis. The government of Cameroon was not prepared for decentralization. Was not prepared for decentralization. It's even enshrined in the 18th of January 1996 Constitution. It comes 26 years after. There is no clear vision of the decentralization process, of the decentralization process you are talking about. There's no clear vision. There is no roadmap. Okay, now tell me, what is the roadmap for education in a decentralization program? What is the roadmap for culture? What is the roadmap? How will the decentralization empower the youth? How will the decentralization give jobs to the youths? Now, you are talking about the decentralization. Look at the regional elections. Tell me the youths that have been involved in regional councils. So you realize that even this decentralization, as I said, it was just a matter that the government wanted to use as if they wanted to appease the Anglophones, of which me and you will know very well that it is a sham. That is why you see in the Popular Action Party, we have been proposing that the first thing is to, first of all, the President of the Republic, because the Anglophone problem, which is bringing a serious security issue in Cameroon, is first of all for the President to call for a ceasefire. After a ceasefire, you call for an inclusive dialogue, because what happened in Yaoundé was a monologue. It failed. So you call for an inclusive dialogue. After the inclusive dialogue, then now we can now start talking about elections. But now, talking about elections, we need to even revisit the electoral code, because with the present dispensation of the electoral code, the youths cannot come in. It is a whole clique of former barons of the regime.
Right, Doctor. What should be done about the security challenges hindering you people abroad from coming home to invest, hindering even those who are at home from investing in some parts of the country, and even those who are away from the crisis-stricken regions are finding it difficult to cope in business because of the impact of the crisis in not only the northwest and southwest, but also in the far north and even in the east with the issue in the Central African Republic?
Thank you so much. It is very clear with an unstable socio-political climate, everything is going to go down. And it's high time the government of Cameroon acknowledges that this is where we are. And we can't think of developing a nation if we can't solve the fundamental issues. The government needs, I think I was very pleased when I heard him say the people of Fekafo should sit around the table and look for solutions plaguing the organization. If he knows that dialogue can bring solutions, why is it so difficult for him to organize a dialogue and talk to the people of the Northwest and Southwest region who have been suffering for so many years? Let's not look at the terrible images and pictures coming out from these regions. We need a dialogue. We need to sit and talk. Why are we experiencing what is going on? What is the root cause? And we need to solve it. And Mr. Babila, for most of us out in the diaspora, just because we freely express our opinion, we hear there's a list with our names on it. Do you think I'm going to come home to such a nation where I hear there is a purported list with my name on it? I wouldn't. But if the president and his administration were able to grant amnesty to everybody, irrespective of their opinion or their stand, then some of us would consider coming home. And I say some of us because we have ton and ton of people out here with lots of potential and resources who want to come back home. But things like this will not allow them to come back home. And the government should ask these militaries to stop the killings in the Northwest and Southwest region. It is unacceptable, it's unconscionable, and the continuous killing and maiming of people just makes them think they don't belong to that nation. These are deserted areas where I grew up, I went to school, I enjoyed it. Just because they have differing opinions is no reason for this area to be completely erased from the face of the earth. So let's sit and talk, grant amnesty, ceasefire, and we will come back and develop this nation.
Right, amnesty, ceasefire, and you come back and invest in your home country. Now, earlier you were talking about infrastructural challenges, but the President of the Republic calling on young people to come back home and invest simply thinks that the environment is conducive enough for young people from the diaspora to invest, and even for those who are at home to invest in their home country, to invest in nation building, in job creation, and all of that. What do you think about the investment environment, the investment climate?
Well, I'm going to be very clear about it, and I'm not mincing my words. Cameroon is almost inexistent when it comes to infrastructure. Do we have the electricity it takes to run the big machines? As a physician, I used to operate with a torchlight because of no light. Is that any environment where anybody would want to put a full-scale business which can compete on international level? That is a big no. Do we have the roads it takes? If you've traveled to the Northwest region, that is a trip which shouldn't take more than 3 hours. It takes you like 10 hours, and on the most horrible conditions, most people arrive sick. What if I were to set up a world-class industry in Bamenda? How would the good get to the most populated areas of Douala and Yaoundé with such bad roads? Where are we with Cameco? Do we have a Cameroon air transport? Do we have the railroads? Do we have the roads? No electricity, no water? Let's be clear about it. When the president goes on stage and makes those pronouncements, to me, it's nothing short of what I've been hearing for the past 38 years. The same things with no policies and no directives to see them executed. And unless they change, unless they start thinking forward, these words will remain words, and they will not be translated into reality to benefit Cameroonians.
Please, APA, infrastructural-wise, there are problems, of course. Doctor said no electricity, no good roads, and so on. But there are some, it's not completely, these facilities are not completely absent. They may be absent in some parts of the country, but in the major cities, there is inadequate supply of electric energy. But there are still companies that are functioning. There are still enterprises that are running with the current energy, with the efforts that the government is making to improve energy supply, and so on. Do you think that this is a major problem that is hindering young people from coming back home to invest, and even those at home?
It is one of the major problems, one of the biggest major problems. I want to say that if you are even talking of electricity, I live in Yaoundé, and I can say in a Tugebe that I live, there are times that we live for about 3 weeks without electricity. Cameroonians don't have electricity. Where the dams that they said they constructed, where is the energy? Now, when we are talking about people coming to invest, it's not people coming to invest. We are talking of emergence towards 2035. Emergence is all about a country which wants to develop. What are the mechanisms that have been put in place for that country to develop? And we are not seeing these infrastructures. We are not seeing the infrastructures are not there. They are not. Now, tell me one company in Cameroon that can take us to emergence towards 2035 when we cannot even produce toothpick. Toothpick in Cameroon is being exported. Even our local, we have, let's take for example like rice production in Cameroon. How far have we gone to put money to develop our rice production in Cameroon that we have?
Production on the rice, for example.
The rice, for example. So when we are saying about emergence is all about industrialization. Cameroon doesn't have any company that can produce machines that can help us to evolve. It is because of what? Because our educational system has a problem. And let me tell you, Cameroon has everything it takes, but it's just because it is those in power cannot think again. They have been in power for so long, and I believe that it is
time for them to relinquish power, to leave it for the youths. It is true, and I like this, and I like it because we are talking.
Being in power for so long, does it hinder somebody from thinking?
Yes, medics have proved that there is a certain age that when you have arrived, you cannot longer think again when you are a youth. Take for example, where is the place of the generation of 1970, 1980, 1990? Where is their generation? Because I know that we will come to what the president talked about, generational transition, what we have been preaching all along about a political transition. I am very comfortable with that because I'm very comfortable because he took from what we have been preaching all this while. And this is a reason why we are calling for the youth, for them to brave fear and come and join politics, for us to take the lead for a change in this country. I want to say that, Mr. Babila Jonathan, the atmosphere in Cameroon is not conducive. Do you think Cameroonians have never wanted to invest in their country? I have a senior brother who is in Italy. He went to Italy in the year 2000. That is, I've been in Italy for 21 years now. He came in Cameroon about last 5 years to invest in this country. But even the tax policy doesn't permit Cameroonians to come and invest. Now, look at what is happening in the northwest and the south, and you know very well that the Cameroonians diaspora
How is the tax policy a problem?
The tax policy is a problem because the regime barons have coined take for example, like a neighboring country like Nigeria. Let's take example like a neighboring country like Nigeria. They give you the opportunity for you to operate for about 3 years before you start paying taxes. But in Cameroon, you must pay exorbitant taxes before they allow you to invest. So you see that it's a problem. It blocks, and then the political situation of Cameroon. The problem is that in Cameroon, when you are not linked with a regime baron, it is very difficult for them to accept their documents for what you want to come and invest in Cameroon.
The problem of nepotism.
The problem of nepotism, tribalism, favoritism, and clientelism.
Dr. Dita, what's your take about this issue of dual nationality? Is it a problem to you? Is it a problem to other Cameroonians who want to invest back home?
Mr. Babla, thank you for bringing this up. It is a very, very big problem, and I'll tell you why. If the Cameroon government is still interested in Cameroonians abroad, then he should know for Cameroonians abroad to develop to their full capacity. In most cases, they become nationals of those countries. When you are not a national of a country, you can't enjoy the full benefits, and you might not be able to develop yourself fully. So when you see Cameroonians performing at the highest level, most of them have gone through all what it takes. And even these countries solicit and gives them citizenships because they know their worth. But back in Cameroon, they don't allow you to have another citizenship. Do you think the same reasons which forced me out of Cameroon to push myself for self-development out of Cameroon would make me to deny citizenship elsewhere? Just to come back to Cameroon, that is a no. We will continue taking the citizenships elsewhere as we are offered. But what we are asking the Cameroon government is, if you are interested in us, how developed we are, the resources and our contribution, then you should be bold enough to accept that we come home with dual citizenship. Mr. Babila, do you know if I were to come to Cameroon next week, I need to send my passport to the embassy to get a visa? And there are many occasions where Cameroonians have been denied visas from coming to Cameroon. So if I were to come establish a business in Cameroon, what becomes of it? I might ask for a passport and nobody gives me. And when I get to Cameroon, I need to get a residence permit to operate in my own country? No. What then is the difference between Cameroon and any other nation I could have gone to just with my resources? So these are some of the things that when we look at them, they say that the thing, they make no sense. They make so much sense. But the real problem is the leadership and the governance structure in Cameroon is so old that they're not thinking in present times. If they realize the world is a global village, and I can go invest and develop any part of the world I want, it would make conditions more conducive for me to come back to Cameroon as opposed to making them more difficult.
Yeah, the doctor thinks that the issue of dual nationality, the restrictions should simply be scrapped off.
Yes, the restrictions should strictly be scrapped off, because we don't see why. Because when you want to block the development of the country, President Hijo had that law had to be passed during the regime of President Hijo, because they wanted to block Cameroonians in the diaspora, because they never wanted them to adhere into politics. So I believe it is high time that this law should be scrapped off, and that Cameroonians who are in the diaspora should come back to their country and invest.
Prince Ipie Ejide, you are the president of the Popular Action Party in the Yaoundé 6 constituency, that is of course in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. Thank you for joining me today. Dr. Chobufo Muchi Dita, thank you for taking off time to join us in this edition of Talking Point.
Thank you so much, Mr. Babla, and I look forward to talking to you and the entire audience in future.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. This is where we draw the curtains on this weekend edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Coming up next, Equinoxe.